Hello? 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 Audio test. Check, check, check. Mic check. Hello, hello, hello. Check. Mic check, mic check. Sorry about this, folks. Having a few audio issues. Mic check, mic check. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. Let a couple more folks dribble in. Hope everyone's having a good morning. If you were one of the folks that joined us a little early, we had some issues with our chat. If you go ahead and refresh the screen, you should see that the chat function is now available. Hello, hello, good morning and welcome. It's everyone's favorite corporate chef, Chef Adam Klosterman. Good morning and welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us here on this fine Tuesday morning for a wonderful taste of Alto-Shaam. Today, to walk you through a little bit about what we're going to do here, I'm going to try my very best. The crew here always giving me a hard time about how very little. I actually keep this promise, but I'm going to try to get you out of here in about 50 minutes at the very most. And we're going to cover about a 10,000-foot perspective of some of the great new and exciting old and existing technologies within the Alto-Shaam product line, talk about some use cases, talk about some cool ideas, talk about some trends. Whether you're a new user or you've never used or seen any Alto-Shaam equipment before, this is going to teach you some new exciting things as it relates to what's new and what's hot. If you're maybe currently already an Alto-Shaam user or customer, hopefully this teaches you a few new tips and tricks and helps you out in the field or out in your operation know and understand the product line a little bit better. I'm going to start with a quick little history lesson, transition into talking about kind of our three main product categories of halo heat or cook and hold technologies, combi technologies, and then we'll end with Alto-Shaam's latest and greatest vector technology. If you didn't notice, we do have a chat function available. A free YouTube account, if you hadn't signed up already, will allow you to use that chat function. I see Barry already. Good morning, Barry. Hope you're doing well. Barry has joined us and has used that chat function. Feel free to ask me questions, and I'll be able to take care of those in real time. If you don't have the ability to get into that chat function, feel free to reach out to myself or anyone on your Apex team to get those questions answered up. All right, let's hop right into it because I told you that I would get you in and out of here as quickly as possible. We're going to start with a quick little history lesson. Today is going to be mainly focused on a lot of use cases, a lot of cooking, and it's not going to be a very salesy type presentation at all. But before we get started, I think it's applicable to tell you a little bit about how Alto-Shaam got started. Before I dive into that, I am going to throw some of these pork chops in. We'll come back and visit those in just a few minutes, but I want to make sure I get them working in the presence of time. So Alto-Shaam was actually started in the late 70s by a man named Jerry Moss. Jerry owned a fast food fried chicken delivery business called Chicken Delight, and he delivered fried chicken in Volkswagen Bugs. Sounds like a concept right out of the 70s, right? In the cold winter nights in Wisconsin, as I've learned here, as I've moved to Minneapolis, it gets a little chilly in the wintertime. He was having a hard time delivering his beautiful handcrafted, hand-fried chicken to where it was of quality and still crispy on the outside, moist on the inside. Legend has it, don't know the actual verification of this, but I think it sounds good. Jerry was at a game at Lambeau Field. He was struggling. He used modern-day holding technology. He put live flames in the back of the Volkswagen Bugs that they delivered the chicken in. Nothing was working out. At a game at Lambeau Field, realized there was snow built up on the exterior of the field, but the field in itself looked in relatively good playing condition. Talking to some of the engineers, realized that they used some thermal radiant cabling that wrapped its way underneath the field. And what it did was, it's kind of like a commercial, the invention of the Alto-Shaam holding cabinet. Looks like we might be having some technical difficulties. Let's check it out here. I think we're still good. Still live? All right. Might have cut out there for a second. Jerry took that same thermal radiant cabling, wrapped it around a stainless steel box and insulated it, and that became the invention of the Alto-Shaam holding cabinet. He was using these and creating them in his box, kind of an industry household name, Alto-Shaam. A lot of people don't realize that Sham is actually that founder, Jerry Moss's last name, spelled backwards. And legend has it, his first two employees, Al and Tom, were the ones that were helping him build these contraptions in his garage. He started manufacturing these for his fried chicken business, and a small roast beef chain at the time called Arby's came to him and said, "Hey, you're holding fried chicken in there. Do you think that we could hold some roast beef in there?" He said, "I don't know. Let's give it a try." And what they realized was that because of the modern day holding technologies, having that more oven-like cowl rod, is that over time it was deteriorating the quality of the product, drying the protein out, and giving them a really hard time maintaining that tenderization, that concentration of flavor, that tenderness, that moistness that comes with a good quality roast beef. But in the Alto-Shaam, after a long period of time, they realized that the product of the quality of the product actually got better because of that thermal radiant cabling, that gentle radiant heat, just sitting in there, allowing for that product to kind of stew, almost like reducing a sauce down on the stove. And because of that thermal radiant cabling being so gentle, we didn't need to introduce any humidity in the cavity to continue to cook the product. We didn't need to introduce any fans to dry the product out. So the natural integrity of the product remained the same. Meanwhile, as it's reducing down or giving you that concentration of flavor, giving you almost an aged-like quality the longer that product held. They decided, hey, you know what? If we're cooking or holding product in this device, do you think that we could just alleviate our ovens altogether and actually cook our product at the same time? A light bulb went off, and that became the invention of what I still think today is Alto-Shaam's flagship product, the Alto-Shaam Cook and Hold. In the 70s and 80s, this began to be marketed as the prime ribber, or that oven that could cook large cuts of roast beef, which is actually what I did here for you today. So I'm going to grab that out of the Cook and Hold. And what's really cool is we actually have 2 generations of Cook and Hold sitting right here. I don't know if you can see it on the main screen, but I'll show you guys that here in a little bit, what the new generation of the Alto-Shaam Cook and Hold looks like. What I did for you guys today, if we want to hop over to the action cam, is what I did for you guys today is do a little tri-tip. So this tri-tip I threw in last night before I left. If we want to dial this in here on the action. I threw this in last night before I left, and this has actually been sitting in there and holding for about 15 hours. And you can see the juice and the moisture that's still coming off of there. And hopefully you can see, as my knife riddles through this, the absolute beautiful tenderization that's happening. One of the key things that you want to see when you look at a cut like this, first off, tri-tip is extremely difficult to cook. Very difficult to get tender and moist. It's one of the more difficult, kind of fattier proteins that you can cook. If you look inside of the middle here, I don't know how well I'm doing this. A little closer. There we go. Thanks, guys. You can see that there is no bullseye effect. Okay, so the bullseye effect that you get from a normal convection oven is where you have well done, medium well, medium rare, kind of right in the center there. As you can see here, from tip to tip, from corner to corner, I have that perfect medium rare finish. And if I cut on over to the very end of this, I'm still getting the exact same finish all the way around from tip to tip, corner to corner. We have that beautiful rare, medium-ish, medium rare finish, holding right at about 132 for about 15 hours. That right there, that little cut of meat, that's where the magic with the Cook and Hold happens. That example right there, a very difficult fatty cut of meat that has become incredibly tender with an extremely high yield, and we were able to do it overnight to alleviate some of our labor concerns. So we were able to throw it in last night, come here in the morning, it was finished and ready to go. Let's talk about yield for a second, because that's a really important concept as it relates to the Cook and Hold. If we were to cook a cut of roast beef like this in a convection oven, let's say we took a bottom round, just a nice roast, and cook that in a convection oven, we'd get about 30 to 35% shrinkage. So we'd lose about that much of our product just right off the top. In the Cook and Hold, that same cut of meat would have about 10 to 12% shrinkage. So we pick up immediately 10 to 12%, 15 to 20% more yield out of our product. So if you're an operation that's doing high volumes of big bulky proteins and you don't have any form of Cook and Hold device, you are losing money right off the top. Maybe you're an operation that's buying pre-cooked protein like corned beef. I was just at an Irish pub who is buying their corned beef and that already finished. We did the math, and the numerical savings and dollar savings that they could save by bringing in just an already bagged marinated corned beef rather than something that's pre-cooked was astronomical. They were able to have about an 18-month or 12-month buyback on the piece of equipment alone, just in the cost difference between that pre-cooked product and doing it from raw. The nice advantage of this is that the Cook and Hold makes it extremely easy. There's probes. You're able to program it in. With the culinary support from myself or Chef Anthony here at Apex, we're able to help you dial those procedures and products in so that your staff can throw it in, push a button, and off they roll. We're going to talk a lot today about systematic automation. We're not quite there to full robotics yet in the food service world, where we have a burger actually flipping, a robot flipping burgers and doing that sort of thing. However, where we're at right now is this really fine and easily executable line where we utilize multiple pieces of equipment like a cook and hold in conjunction with something like the Vector to have complete programmability, where our staff is throwing something in, prepping it, using something like the Vector to have a programmed finish or cook cycle to create this automation that will yield consistency and quality when you're dealing with labor struggles. That's what we're all trying to solve here in today's environment, right? Is how can we execute at a high level in a quick pace with very little labor, whether it be labor that has low knowledge or skills, or just low amounts of people. It's difficult to find these days. So as we analyze the cook and hold, yes, it's fantastic to do these large, big, bulky cuts of protein, like briskets, roast beef, pork shoulders, etc. However, there is so much more that you can do with this. A great example of this is I had a college who was making their own yogurt. So a college and university for their students was making their own yogurt. Those key words of in-house or from scratch is so key, especially with that clientele base, that 18 to 35-year-old range. Love those key words of from scratch or in-house or fresh. Being able to take some heavy cream, a little yogurt culture, or a scoop of plain Greek yogurt, throw it in, cook it, hold it overnight to yield that product from scratch. Stocks are one of the most incredible use cases of the cook and hold. It's an art that has deteriorated. When I was growing up in the culinary school world, I had a dream of moving to Rome or New York and being a saucier. Right? That saucier, that art is so lost these days of preparing those types of things from scratch because of how difficult it is, how much resources and time they consume. Taking a kettle or a range and a stock pot and creating stock from scratch is incredibly difficult. Imagine being able to take your leftover produce, throwing it in, adding some water, getting it to a rumble boil, and then throwing it in your cook and hold overnight, and when you come back, you have the clearest stock that I've ever seen in my life, and it's so concentrated and beautiful and delicate, and it's incredible use to be able to get that off of the hood, off of your stovetop, get rid of those inefficiencies that a big stock pot can cause on your limited range space, and get it into the cook and hold. It's fascinating. The one thing we haven't mentioned about the cook and hold is that it's ventless as well. So you can see over here, it's not underneath the hood. Everyone is looking for key solutions that they can add to their small spaces, or that they can add to existing spaces that gives them more flexibility, more capabilities in a really small space. And that's what the cook and hold gives you the ability to do because of its ventless capabilities. You can throw one anywhere. As you could see over to the side over there, as the crew was panning, they come in all shapes and sizes. Little small ones like what we cook the tri-tip in, all the way up into big double stacks. So any operation, I have a phrase, whether you're a mom and pop cafe or you're, a big time university, state university, every single operation could benefit from a cook and hold. And on top of it, if it's not running 24 hours a day, you are likely losing money somewhere in your operation. So it's a workhorse, it's ventless, it has a quick ROI with some of those yield capabilities, and not to mention, it's extremely sustainable as well. Runs on about $1 of a day of electricity, so it's very, very utility-friendly, dollar-friendly from a usability or utility standpoint. We did also just come out with a brand new version of the cook and hold. I'm going to show you what our new IoT technology controller looks like on our Vector oven a little bit later, a little bit down the road, and just know and understand that we have that capability in our cook and holds as well. Brand new. Look it up on Alto-Shaam.com or ask us, one of your salespeople, for some information, and look at the new design of the Alto-Shaam cook and hold. It is an incredible piece of technology. Few other things about the cook and hold. We manufacture them in a smoker as well, so they have our synonymous Alto-Shaam smoker capability that I'll show you on our combi oven. You can get that into the cook and hold. Same exact technology that I just mentioned, however it's a smoker. Only difference there is that is going to have to be underneath the hood, with the fact that you're burning some smoker or some smoke wood chips. We also manufacture those in waterless hot wells. So it's that same halo heat technology that comes into a hot well, but without the need of any form of plumbing or water to create that steam and that holding, which allows you to be more effective, more efficient, and hold with better quality. If you're trying to add a hot well to an existing space, it saves you money as well, because you're not having to worry about that existing plumbing environment as well. All right. So that's it for halo heat technologies. Kind of summing it up, it's that thermal radiant cabling, very similar to an electric blanket, that commercialized version of an electric blanket or a crock pot. I know the Alto-Shaam folks cringe when I say that, but that's essentially what it is, giving you those high yields, high efficiencies, programmability, efficiencies outside of a hood, traditional hood space, and giving you the ability to set up for some systematic automation with some of the other product lines within the Alto-Shaam portfolio. All right. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. And I'd love to see Barry. I see you've got the chat function. Help me out here. Let's get some questions rolling. I'm going to throw this down here. Don't be shy. Please feel free to reach out, ask any questions. I'm here for it. We're going to transition and talk about the combi oven now. I told you this was going to be quick. We're going to go in and out, and then if you want to dive a little deeper, feel free to reach out. All right. So the combi technology, my favorite thing to talk about with any operator, because it really truly is a operation-changing type technology. It has some incredible capabilities, and it really truly can completely turn your operation on its head in a good way, and change your life, change the life of your staff, change the life of the food and the quality and the customers that are experiencing it. It's fascinating. Let's see here. Can you talk about making stock in the Alto-Shaam? Sure, Barry. Making stock in the Alto-Shaam cook and hold is fascinating. Making stock is traditionally a very labor-intensive product, right? So you're having to fire up a kettle, a large kettle, or right, consume that incredible real estate on your stovetop when you're trying to prep and do other things. That real estate on your stovetop is so incredibly valuable. So not to mention you're having to run utilities of a kettle and of a hood all day, or you can't do it overnight because someone needs to be there watching it. So what the cook and hold allows you to do is get that stock started. So throw your bones or your veggies or your parts and pieces into there, throw some water in, get it started, and then move it to your cook and hold and cook it. You cook it at about 325 degrees is the max temperature for about 4 or 5 hours or so, and then hold it at about 170-ish, 165 all the way through the night, and you will have a perfectly clear stock. What's so interesting is because of that thermal radiant cabling being so gentle, what it does is it doesn't have that rumble, even that gentle boil and that rumble of a kettle or a pan on the stove can disrupt the creation of that stock and actually affect the clarity of it. And having that gentle radiant heat do the cooking and then kind of the holding to just absorb all the flavors out of those bones or those veggies or those herbs will just help you to create. It's honestly the clearest stock that I've ever seen. It's by far and away the easiest and best way to cook stock, and I'm really, really surprised that more people don't utilize the cook and hold to get that job done. Also, if I could mail that tri-tip to Iowa City. I wish I could, Barry. We'll try to drum up some dry ice and get that to you by tomorrow. All right, let's transition and talk about combi ovens. Combi ovens are, again, like I said, one of the most fascinating pieces of culinary equipment. I think, honestly, one of the more sophisticated, if not the most sophisticated, culinary pieces of equipment in the world. It's incredible. I got my training and education, I've talked about this many times before, in Florence, Italy. I lived in Florence, and I went to an international hospitality school and worked in a restaurant. And my restaurant there had a very, very tiny kitchen. We had a 4-burner range, a pasta cooker, an 18-inch grill, and a combi oven, and that was it. Honestly, maybe 15 feet by 10 feet at the very most. And we were able to crank out about 275 to 300 covers a night. And the reason that we were able to do that was because of the efficiencies that the combi oven created. The combi oven housed every single dish on our menu. Whether it was during the prep stage or during that final finishing stage, the combi oven housed every single thing in on the menu. And because of the efficiencies of the combi oven, it allowed us to do a lot in a very, very small space. Europe, combi ovens were invented in Europe. And I think that they were invented because of that small, confined space and wanting to do high volumes in a small space. The restaurant that I worked in was built, you had to wind through this dark, long alley, and the building was from like the 1500s. We didn't have the privilege of pounding up a 17-foot, 25-foot hood like we do here in a new build in the States. And so what I think was, so at its most basic roots, a combi oven can be a steamer. So we can utilize it as a basic traditional baseline steamer. It can be a convection oven, so we can use it as a traditional standard convection oven. And then we can utilize it as this wonderful magical combination of both, where we utilize high temperature steam and convective air all at the same time. And I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about that mode right there. But I think that's where the invention of this came from, right? You have steam, which is low temperature, moist environment. We have convection, which is high temperature, dry environment. And I think kind of that yin and yang effect, they said, okay, I think we can probably combine those two things all behind one door and really create some efficiencies in a really small space. I like to think of it as kind of like a Frankenstein moment. Someone crossed the wires, right? They threw the steam in with the high heat of the convection. It's alive, right? And that became the invention of combi mode. However, it was probably likely a scientist much smarter than myself that did it on purpose, but it's kind of fun to think of it that way. The combi has evolved into so much more than that, including smoking and some of the other features that we're going to talk about here in a second. I'm going to grab out what I did here a little earlier, and we're going to come back to that in just a second. Just going to try to get the oven hot so that we can keep this moving. So let's first and foremost start by talking about steam mode. So steam mode is one of the most incredible facets of this oven. Okay, if we want to keep it as simple and basic as possible, we can certainly do that. How? If we use 212 degrees, this oven will operate and function just like a traditional steamer. Okay, so it looks like we got a little sunlight here coming in. Do you want to, at the top, there's a little thing. It's like a scrolly by the button. If you guys want to give me 1 second, I want to fix this. Sorry about this, folks. The aspects of live TV. All right, that should be a little bit better. So it doesn't look like I have a big spotlight on my face. All right, sorry about that, folks. If you want to utilize this like a traditional, standard, baseline steamer, you have the ability to do so. We could dial this in to 212 degrees and this will function just like your normal, regular, traditional steamer. However, one of the biggest differences between steaming in a combi oven versus a traditional steamer is the fact that we can manipulate the temperature. If we bounce over here to the controller cam, you're going to notice that we can go all the way down to 85 degrees, okay, all the way up to 575 degrees. But what in steam mode, operating at these lower temperatures gives us the ability to do is some pretty incredible stuff. For example, we could dial this into 110 degrees and utilize this as a traditional proofer. Combining that with the programmability function will show you what I did here this morning. I proof and baked some cinnamon rolls. So proof and baking these cinnamon rolls gave me the ability, let me cut inside of one of these, gave me the ability to throw in my dough. Look at that, unbelievable. To throw in my dough, proof it at 110 degrees for about 25 minutes, and roll over and bake at about 350, 325 degrees. Now, next time I do that, I'll have the ability to program it, where I can throw those in, hit cinnamon rolls, they'll proof, roll over, bake automatically in one fluid step. So doing that for cinnamon rolls, dinner rolls, sandwich hoagies, focaccia bread, that idea of baking in-house has really started to come back, especially in the K through 12 world, who I know we have some of those folks on this call as well. That 51% whole grain requirement really kind of threw everyone back without having any products that met that demand in the supply chain, threw a lot of people back into that from scratch or semi-scratch baking world, and having that proof and bake concept is incredible, to where you can throw it in, channel your inner Billy Mays, set it, forget it, and roll forward. Another really cool thing that we can do if we bounce back to the controller here is we can dial this into 115 degrees to 200 degrees, and we can utilize this in a traditional sous vide sense. So if you ever had or wanted the ability to vacuum seal your product closed and do some cooking from there, you would have that ability to do so. We could go up a little hotter than that, which is actually the product that I want to show you here. I call this bagless sous vide. So what I did here was, rather than having to worry about the complexity of sous vide, I made this really easy. I dialed this into about 170 or 165 degrees on steam mode, and I steamed some pre-seared pork chops. So I took my pork chops and I seared them yesterday, and then threw them in this morning in that low environment, just right here on the sheet pan, just like this. What this does is this cooking about 20 degrees, 15 degrees above what temperature we're actually wanting to cook at, or end at. It gives us this sous vide-like texture or quality to our product without the complexity of those crazy ideas like sous vide. So literally, this was just pan-seared for a hot second, and look at how beautiful, consistent, tender, and juicy. I mean, you don't see a pork chop look like that very often coming out of an oven. And you can see here that we still have the beautiful caramelization and color that we got from doing a quick little pre-sear, but then we finished it at such a low, gentle environment that it gave us that ability to have that sous vide-like texture to our product without any complex cooking techniques. So using this for pork, for chicken, for fish is a fantastic way to get high yields. That pork chop or a chicken breast, doing it in that capacity, gives you about 98, 99% yield. I mean, it's insane. We can also reverse engineer that idea if you're more of an a la carte operations in healthcare or in restaurant operations. You can actually, rather than pre-searing it, you can throw it in there, marinate it overnight, throw it in the oven, cook it, let's say it's a chicken breast, to about 155. Throw it into a pan, saran wrap it, hold it hot on your line. Now when an order comes in for a grilled chicken breast pesto sandwich, you're grabbing that 155 degree chicken breast, slapping it onto a charbroiler or a flat top, bringing it up to order. Rather than grilling it from raw in about 12 to 17 minutes, you're going to bring that ticket up in about 4 to 5 minutes at the very most. So you're able to utilize, again, systematic automation. One piece of equipment in a really precise manner, and another piece of equipment to finish it to create efficiencies. We could reduce the pickup time on that product by 66% if we did it and executed it that way rather than the old traditional way. The way that I did this pork chop is going to be perfect for high volume applications like college dining, like catering or banqueting. Being able to take 185 or 300 chicken breasts or pork chops, give them their color, finish them in a really low environment, low temperature, gentle environment. You know what that gives us the ability to do? That's going to give us the ability to finish it precise for all 300 of those at one time, but it's also going to do it incredibly fast. I just did the other day about 50 pounds of chicken breast that I pre-seared in about 20 minutes. So literally no longer than your standard convection oven bake time, because we have that delta with a little bit of humidity in there. expedites that process and creates a really unique facet. A few other things that we could do in low temperature steam. We could dial this into 185 degrees. The perfect temperature for the blanching of any green vegetables. Broccoli, asparagus. If you throw spinach in there for about 6 minutes at 185 degrees, you pull it out, you're like, holy cow, this is raw still. You pop it in your mouth, you're like, holy cow. That's the most incredible tasting spinach that I've ever experienced in my life. And because of that gentle, precise environment. Last thing I'm going to give you guys here, 190 degrees, we can do any custard-based desserts. Creme brulee, flan, cheesecake, those sorts of things without the use of a water bath. It's pretty incredible. The texture and the creaminess and the quality that you're looking for out of those types of desserts without the use of a water bath is fascinating. Again, I want to bring it back home here. If we dial this into 212 degrees, we can utilize this as a traditional baseline steamer. But what's incredible about Combi in steam is that you have, I just gave you literally a handful of examples. The possibilities are endless. And that's what's so incredible about partnering yourselves with Alto-Shaam and with Apex, is that we have a team of specialists designed to help you create these visions for your customer, or if you are a customer or an end user in itself, to create everything I'm talking about here come to life completely free of charge. If you didn't know it, I'm not the only culinarian on our team anymore. We just hired out of St. Louis, Missouri, Chef Anthony Gito. And we are designed here as culinarians to help you guys execute these ideas after you've purchased this technology. Make sure that these ideas, thoughts, and executions come to life within your operation in itself. Any questions about steam mode? Come on, Barry, I know you got something for me. Barry's my only guy out there that's willing to ask some questions. Let's bounce up and talk about combination mode. Combination mode is one of the most fascinating concepts in cooking. Because what ends up happening, this one little button right here, this little combi button, is the sole reason that I have a job. This little combination of steam and convection air is the only reason that I really have a job. Using steam at high temperatures is fascinating. And the reason why they brought me on staff and why they brought Chef Anthony on staff is because what happens is people get technology like this and they utilize it as a steamer, they utilize it as a convection oven, and that's it. They don't utilize it to the full force that they could and should. So anytime that I talk about combi technology, it's really, really exhilarating and exciting, really fancy food. I use the example of a grilled cheese sandwich. 2 pieces of white bread and American cheese. Trying to get on the action cam here, we might be frozen. 2 pieces of white bread, American cheese, and that's it. To explain the basic principles of combination mode, because if I were to ask you all to cook this grilled cheese sandwich for me using only this oven, what would likely happen is you'd come up to the oven and you'd say, all right, well, I don't want to use steam mode. We could all agree upon that, right? Steam mode would make it soggy, pale, disgusting. I'm not going to use combination mode because there's still steam in the environment. I want that product to be crispy and brown and have color and texture. So I'm going to use convection mode. So when it actually boils down to all the things that actually matter, roasting potatoes, roasting vegetables, if you're a school, cooking your breaded or your fried items like your French fries, your tater tots, and your chicken nuggets, right? When it comes down to all those items, you tell yourself, I'm going to use convection mode. And then you get into this habit and this rhythm of using convection and steam, and that's it. Here we go. We got Barry here. Let me take a quick pause. We started doing some faux sous vide and combi steam mode. I think it's great protein so far. We're looking to branch out to veg soon as well. Barry, if you hit me up after this, please feel free to reach out and via email, and I'll be sure that I get you some info on what you're looking for. And I'd love to find out how we can continue to explore, and hopefully you're getting some good info out of today. So, combination mode. Let's talk about how we could use this for our grilled cheese sandwich. Okay, I'm going to start by talking about steam mode. Steam mode, if we were to cook this grilled cheese sandwich at 212, like I talked about in traditional standard steam mode, what is 212 degrees? 212 degrees is the boiling point of water, right? We put a pot of boiling water on the stove. Right as it's about to boil, we have that steam and that vapor that's coming off the top of the pot. It's that wet, moist steam. That type of steam would never make a grilled cheese sandwich crispy. We all know that, right? But once you get above 212 degrees, it actually turns into a completely different type of steam. That type of steam acts, behaves, and cooks completely different from this type of steam right here. This type of steam, I like to use the example of a sauna. We have our wooden room, our hot rocks, our pail of water, right? We ladle the water over the rocks and it becomes steam, but you don't see that steam. That type of steam does three things for us. One, it cooks about 30 to 60% faster than traditional cooking methods. So these roasted potatoes that I'm doing, some smashed potatoes, if you wanted them to look like they just came out of the deep fryer, we're looking at 35, 40 minutes in just a standard conventional oven. In here, we're going to be able to get them looking incredible in about 17 to 22 minutes. Brown, crispy, caramelized, soft, etc. I can cook a whole pork loin in 40 minutes. I can get ribs, bite off the bone tender, and smoked even in about an hour and a half, rather than 3, 4, 5 hours. So the cook time is drastically faster to create more efficiencies in your kitchen. If you're a K through 12 environment, give you the ability and give your staff the ability to cook a la carte, right? If you're a director, a food service director, you're always harping on your staff to cook more a la carte, cook fresher. Don't cook at 8 o'clock and hold in the holding cabinets for 2, 3, 4 hours. Use the combi mode to cook in a more a la carte function. That's what that quick cook time will give you. It's going to give you a better quality product. I'm cooking a salmon fillet in here. If dry air is thirsty, if we throw a salmon fillet into a conventional oven and we overcook it by just the slightest, it's going to be dry, right? You walk into work, there's a puddle on the ground. You leave, it's gone. Dry air, the atmosphere is thirsty. It soaks up all the moisture. An oven works the same way. So if we can compensate for that by adding a little bit of humidity, then we don't need to pull it out of the product, so we're going to have higher yields. We're going to have more moisture. You're going to notice it right away. That meatloaf that you throw in there, you're going to pull out and notice it right away. All the grease and the juice and the moisture that's involved in there is incredible, and you're going to see it here on the salmon in just a second. The third and final thing, and this is traditionally like the what? Mind-blowing moment, is that steam at these high temperatures will actually make product browner and crispier and more caramelized than a standard oven will. Right now, I'm cooking this grilled cheese sandwich on combination mode, 400 degrees and 100% humidity. And you're going to see what my final result is here. So we have 400 degrees, 100% humidity, and look at what we have here. This beautiful golden brown, crispy texture. Hopefully you can hear here, right? That beautiful crispy texture. We flip it over. Same on both sides. Then we cut into it, and that's where the magic happens. When we cut into this bad boy, actually, let me see if I can get a cheese pull here. It's a little hot, but we have that beautiful, melty, creamy inside, that soft bread. The edges aren't burnt to crisp. The cheese is melty, but again, we have that beautiful, crispy crunch. And that was at 100% humidity. So I have a few other elements. I want to actually plate up some food here because you guys have just been standing around, sitting around, staring at this, and I want to actually start to bring some of these dishes to life. So I'm going to grab out of my oven. Sorry if I'm walking off camera here. We're going to start to plate this dish up. I want you guys to see how we can bring a full dish to life. So on the bottom of my plate here, I have a little butternut squash puree. I wanted to do some nice fall-inspired dishes. So I have a little butternut squash puree, steeped some squash and some cream in the combi, and then plated it up, or then mixed it up in my Roboku Blixer to get that fine, beautiful texture. I have some roasted potatoes that I'm going to throw on the bottom here. Look at these babies. Nice, beautiful brown, crispy color. I also have some beautiful Brussels sprouts. Look at these, how caramelized. Brussels sprouts are another great example of how combi technology works, because normally you'd have to blanch these before you baked them so that you could get that nice, beautiful color. But here, this was all. They went in raw. They're beautifully soft and crispy all at the same time. Then we're going to finish it with that beautiful pork fillet that I mentioned earlier. Look at that. We also, since it's fall, right? I feel like I have the best apples recipe that money can buy. My apples. I take some apples, some onions. I take some champagne vinegar, some brown sugar, a little red pepper flake, and it just has this beautiful bite of sweetness and acidity that goes on top there. And then to just add a little bit of sweetness and some nice fun design, we're going to throw a little balsamic glaze. Look at that. Unbelievable. Look at this beautiful, easy, executable dish for any skill level. Nothing about this plate is overly fancy. It's some squash steeped in cream run through a Robocoup. We have some roasted vegetables, a pork that's going to taste like you're getting it at a fine French or Italian restaurant, with some 5-ingredient apples. And this dish right here, for any type of operation, could look and taste extremely dynamic, and it's extremely executable for any skill level. The oven was just beeping because my salmon fillet is done. So we're going to grab the salmon fillet out. And what we're pairing this salmon fillet up with, by the way, let's take a quick peek at that. Beautiful caramelization on top. Once you cut into that, you're going to see how incredibly perfect and flaky that is on the inside. Set it down there for a sec, because what we have here, an element that a lot of people forget about, whoop, I hid it from myself, that a lot of people forget about is the combi oven's ability to cook grains. So I have a little fall harvest grain salad here that's just beautiful that we're going to put on the bottom. So the combi oven's ability to do grains is fascinating. We have some corn and some grape tomatoes and some Parmesan cheese. I don't care if people say seafood and cheese aren't supposed to go together. I think cheese goes with anything. We have our beautiful salmon fillet. So again, all these components cooked in the combi oven. And then we're going to finish it with, real quick here, my favorite as of recent, some microgreens, just to add a little bit of fanciness, a little bit of farm-to-table aspect to it. But look at this. This is beautiful. This is a high-dollar ticket item that, you know, no matter what type of operation you're in, sub that salmon out for a more applicable protein. You have the richness and the proteins in the grains that we cooked in the combi oven. Nothing here required a stovetop or a range, because what's incredible about this is the combi oven can also be ventless. So we could do all these same elements that we just did right here, both of those dishes, with only a combi oven. And I think that right there is what explains how amazing and incredible combi cooking is the dynamic flexibility, versatility that you have in a very, very small footprint. If you're already a combi user or a combi owner and you're not using combi mode, hopefully this explanation explained to you why combi cooking is so important. And maybe it encourages you to reach out and talk with me a little bit more about it. If you're not currently a combi owner, hopefully this gets your mind turning and understanding understanding why combi has been such a hot topic. Last thing, combi ovens, self-cleaning. They clean themselves. There can be a smoker that you can use to do cold and hot smoking. And Alto-Shaam is made 100% in the United States, which is the only combi oven that can say 100% manufactured in the United States. So if you're in the market for a combi oven, there really is no other need to go anywhere else but Alto-Shaam. All right, we got some French fries that we're still cooking over here that we're going to come back to, because I know we have some K through 12 candidates or operations that might be curious to see what those a la carte items look like. Last but not least, we're going to transition to talking about the vector oven, and I know that I've already gone way over my time, so I apologize for that, but if you're going to want to stick around to hear how amazing this vector oven is, because it really truly is one of the most incredible pieces of technology that the food service industry has come out with in a very long time. Whenever I explain the vector oven, I'm just going to get a few things in. I like to explain what the vector oven I like to explain what it's not rather than what it is, because the very first time I saw this oven, I immediately tried to categorize it. So what I did was I said, it's kind of like a speed oven. Well, no, not really. Oh, it's kind of like a, impingement oven. Well, no, not really. So I like to be sure to, hold on, we have a question here. Is that unit behind ventless? If not, can you show us a ventless unit? Mr. or Mrs. Halesbells, I will be sure to, I don't have an image of one. The one that you saw there is not ventless. The only difference is there's a Type 1 hood that sits on top of it. That's like kind of an accessory. But I will be sure to have the crew write down, and we will send you an email after this with some spec sheets of what that ventless unit looks like, and we can take it from there. I apologize. Eva says, yes, we're curious about K through 12. Eva, are you referring to the vector or the combi? I'd love to hone in and make sure you get the information that you're looking for. The K through 12, if you're talking about the combi oven, the K through 12 world is dominated by combi ovens in today's day and age because of their programmability, their ease of use, their quick cooking capabilities. So being able to cook those a la carte items, the French fries, the high ticket items, the French fries, the tater tots, the chicken nuggets, the chicken patties. I'm going to step off camera here for just a second because these French fries are probably done, and I want to have a vehicle to show you what I'm talking about. So to get these French fries done in a traditional oven, right, we're normally talking about, let's bounce back to the action cam one more time. Look at how beautiful. I mean, these look right out of a deep fryer, and hopefully you can hear them bouncing around the tray, that golden crispy crunch. This is why combi oven is applicable to K through 12 schools. It gives you the ability to have fryer-like items in a very quick period of time. Meanwhile, this is burning a hole through my pot holder here. Normally, in a traditional oven, those are taking you every bit of 30 minutes to get to that consistency, that evenness, and that level of browning. And in there, we were able to do those in about 15, 17 minutes. Both, trying to get new ovens. Great. So, the combi oven in a K through 12 world, having that low temperature steam or steam capability to cook your bright, vibrant green vegetables, your broccoli, your peas, your green beans. Having that ability to do proof and bake, like we talked about for dinner rolls and sandwich hoagies. Being able to use the combi ovens to cook faster, cook in a more a la carte sense. Remember, we can reduce our cook times down by 50%, 30 to 50%. So when you look at across the board how much you have to prepare in any given morning, and you can take 30% off of that total prep time, your eyes start to open up as to what combi gives you the ability to do. If you're struggling from a staffing standpoint, it makes life a lot easier on them. If you're struggling from a quality standpoint, it allows you to cook more a la carte. So if you have the staffing to give you the ability to do so, combi ovens will give you the ability to cook in a more a la carte sense because we've reduced our cook time down by 30 to 50% in comparison to traditional items, all while elevating the quality of the food. Our pre-cooked burger patties, more moist and juicier. They're going to hold up in the holding cabinet for extended periods of time. Our breaded or crispy items, or our grilled cheese, items that we want texture on, are going to have more color and crispiness and texture than ever feasible in standard ovens. If you're in a high volume K-12 operation and you haven't made the switch to combi ovens, I'm telling you, whether you choose our brand or not at the end of the day, so be it. I encourage you to make the switch over traditional methods. If you happen to partner up with Apex and Alto-Shaam, myself or Chef Anthony or anyone on our team is going to train your staff so that they know how to use it, and you start to see all these results happen. It really truly is a win-win. I'd love to chat with you more, Eva, offline. If you have some more questions and want to follow up with myself or your Apex sales rep, and I'd love to take a deeper dive with you off the call here. But I want to make sure that, out of respect of everyone else's time, that we chat about the Vector oven here quickly. The Vector oven, also a great piece of equipment for any operation, including K-12 schools. So stick around and take a listen to this as well. So there's 4 ovens or 4 existing product categories that I like to talk about as it relates to the Vector oven. You can go over to the action cam there. I'll talk about those eggs in a second. But the Vector oven, there's 4 pieces of equipment. A high-speed oven, a impingement oven, a convection oven, and a combi oven, kind of, sort of. So what I mean by that is, let's start with the high-speed oven. The Vector oven is a quick fire oven. It's within the quick fire category. However, we don't utilize microwave. So a Turbo Chef, Mary Chef, those ovens are really fast. They cook with extreme speeds. So does a Vector oven. However, we're able to do it without the use of microwave assist. So if you're in an operation that has a situation where someone wants to come up, order something, and they want to take it right away, and then they're going to eat it right away, a high-speed oven is certainly an option, because that speed and that quality, that consistency, etc., will give you that ability to cook in the timing that you need to get people through your line. However, if you're in a situation maybe where you want to cook and park something, I'm going to throw this just on top of these biscuits so we can get it all in the shot there. The Vector oven, because we're not relying on microwave, will give you a better ability to hold things for a longer period of time. So if this needs to go onto a holding cabinet or onto a heated merchandiser, where people are going to grab and go out of there, it will give you that ability to hold for 45 minutes to an hour, etc., and still have it be really good quality. The second piece is the impingement oven, right? You have the long conveyor oven where the pizza goes in one end, conveyors through the other end. That uses a form of impinged air. So we're forcing really hot air through really tiny holes, and that makes it really concentrated. But because of how concentrated it is, the product has to start and go through a conveyor so that we can get that consistency. The way that the Vector oven works is that we've re-engineered that impinged air to where the product can sit static in the oven. So it gives us a nice 21-inch footprint, right? So it's really narrow and small and fits into any space. The next piece is a convection oven. A convection oven, or heck, even a combi oven for that matter, is one environment. Right? We can set it to 325. We could set it to 450. The Vector oven has the ability to have 2. The unit you're looking at here is 3 or 4 different chambers. Basically 4 different ovens behind one door. What that gives us the ability to do is cook at different times, different temperatures, different fan speeds within each individual cavity. So I cooked those biscuits at 350. I cooked my sunny side up eggs at 425, and now I'm grilling my salmon and my sausage patty at 500. So we can have multiple things going at one time, or we could just set this to 450 or, whatever, somewhere in that range, and use this as a beautiful, incredible a la carte oven. K-12 schools have been using this in their satellite locations, where they prepare all of their food, put it in hot boxes, ship it over to the other site where they don't have a kitchen. And they're throwing these into places where they don't have kitchens because it's a ventless piece of equipment. This, what you're looking at right here, does not require a hood in any stretch of the imagination. So it gives you the ability to throw the vector oven in any environment, a cafe, a satellite kitchen, when you're opening up a new restaurant. I've had restaurants that have opened up with 2 vectors stacked on top of each other, and that's it. They do their entire menu out of these 2 pieces of equipment. You can do extremely versatile, you have extremely versatile capabilities in the vector oven as well. We can do fresh items like we just did on that fresh piece of salmon. You can do frozen items if that's the type of food that you're cranking out, with French fries and tater tots and pre-cooked sandwiches and that sort of thing. You can make it happen. It's pre-programmable. So what I'm going to do here is take you over a little tour of the controller here. Keep in mind, this is the same controller that our new cook and hold oven has the ability to have as well. So the cook and hold ovens can look like this too. So the way that I cook those biscuits, I clicked on my recipe booklet. I clicked biscuit, I push start, and off I roll. So having the ability to have all of this programmed in to make it really sleek, simple, and easy for your staff is incredible. If this is programmed already, all people need to have the ability to do is come in the morning, press preheat, then when they're ready to cook, select their cookbook, select which items they want to prepare, and off they roll. And we can help you in creating those programs, or at least give you some starting points as well. You'll notice here that we have our 3 different chambers. There's nothing in the bottom chamber anymore because our biscuits are done, but we have our salmon grilling. We have some sausage cooking. You can see there's top and bottom heat within each chamber, giving you super concentrated and high powered. So the way that this works is because that concentration of heat, whatever surface you put in there, whether it be a sheet tray or a grilling plate, actually becomes that surface. So the sheet tray will become like a griddle top, or this little grill plate will become a grill type contraption. What's incredible is that, as you have seen here, we have products going in and out, in and out, in and out. People always ask, how do you compensate for the door being open all the time? If you notice up here at the top, we have this, so air comes from the back in to cool our controls down. And then this air curtain forms over the front of the cavity, and that keeps all the hot air in. So as you're going in and out of this door all day long, there's nothing happening to that chamber, and it recovers extremely quickly to allow you to have high volume cooking. So you can see here our salmon is coming out. Let me find, I'm going to keep you, hopefully I don't make you sick. I'm going to keep you in here. I'm trying to find my other hot pad, because we're going to grab that salmon out. Sorry about the mess. Jeez, that cord. Let's grab the salmon out. You can hear the sizzle, hopefully. Eva, the name of this oven is the Alto-Shaam Vector Oven. Let's take a look at this beautifully grilled salmon. Okay, we could have probably done a little better on the grill marks there. It might have needed another minute or 2, but you can start to see them forming. You just kind of have to trust me. Let that sit there for another couple minutes. You have to trust me that we can get a little bit better grill marks than that. Let's take a look at this perfectly prepared pizza. Beautiful golden brown on the bottom. Look at how crispy that is. From a baking perspective, this oven is incredible. Perfect consistency from corner to corner, right? Everything looks the same. No rotating of pans, no inconsistencies, no top shelf that's burnt and bottom shelf that's underdone. We have some sunny side up eggs. This is a fun product to make some form of like sandwich with. So we have the ability to cook these beautiful yolky eggs, right? Look at that, beautiful, still runny yolk. Or we could scramble these to make more of like a scrambled egg patty. While that sausage has about 30 seconds, I just wanted to show you guys some of these dishes again a little more close up. Look at that beautiful crispy crust on that salmon. We have that wonderfully, perfectly cooked, almost sous vide-like pork there. The Vector oven, keep in mind, all of this was in about 12 minutes that we've prepared, including what's going to come out of the oven here. extremely versatile, high volume type food. Let's grab our sausage. Let's see if we were able to maybe get a little better grill mark on our sausage. There we go. That's what I was looking for. I knew you guys were going to call me a liar here if I didn't show you some good grill marks. So that salmon will just have to be a little rework of a process, but we could get it there. All right, I want to check one more time to see. You want to bop off the cam here? I'm going to set it down. Because that's really all I have for you guys today. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. Again, my name is Corporate Chef Adam Klosterman. I know how valuable time is in today's day and age. So I thank you so much for taking about an hour of your day to tune in. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next time.